Today I am with Jack and Nancy Purcell from Links magazine. Jack and Nancy live in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. So Jack and Nancy, welcome. Appreciate you finding some time this morning to have a quick chat with us.
Thank you, Gordon. Great to be with you.
Yeah, great to be with you.
In the interests of full disclosure, Jack and Nancy have been longtime personal friends of mine, and I feel as though we've kind of grown up in the golf industry together, given that PerryGolf and Links started similar times. So it's lovely to have them with us. So Jack or Nancy, who wants to take the lead on the kind of the brief history of Links magazine? It started in 1988, I believe, a couple of years after ourselves, and just kind of walk us through the initial history of it and your initial involvement, if you don't mind.
Great, Gordon. I'll give you the Cliff version, which you've heard a lot of this. But so Nancy and I were both working in publishing up in New York City in the 80s. I was at Sports Illustrated, and she was at Women's Day magazine. And my father was the president of CBS Publishing. And long story short, my dad and I both left big companies in 1986 and started a M&A company that specialized in media in Stamford, Connecticut. And so from 1986 to 1993, we were very active in looking at many media opportunities in all fields, print, radio, television. It was a little bit pre-digital. And in 1988, a fellow Wingfoot member of mine told me, I guess it was late 88, he asked me if I'd heard about a small magazine in Hilton Head, South Carolina called Southern Links. And I said I hadn't. He goes, well, they've got a great niche. It's lifestyle. They've been around for about 6 months. The first issue of Southern Links was published in the spring of 88. And they are undercapitalized, and the funder, the person funding them is not a publishing person, and he's expecting an immediate return, and there's a good chance he's going to shut them down. So I went down and looked at it, my dad and I, and right away we could see that in 6 months they had made tremendous progress. Again, it was called Southern Links, and it wrote about the golf opportunities in the southern half of the United States. And so long story short, we really liked the lifestyle niche too. Back then you had Golf Magazine and Golf Digest, which were much more instructional based magazines, and you had Golf Week and Golf World, which were much more news and notes. And so we didn't feel anybody was profiling the lifestyle of golf in a very quality way. So in late 88, early 89, we purchased Southern Links from this individual and started going from there. So that's really the background on the purchase. And then, if you want me, I can tell you go a little further on how it turned into Links and moved to Hilton Head and all that.
Absolutely. I think then you started Western Links, so keep going. Always fascinating to hear how any company evolved over time.
Okay, and Nancy can chime in when she wants to as well here. But
you're doing a good job.
So we're still living up in Connecticut, and businesses in Stamford, Connecticut, and I started going down to Hilton Head every couple months, and it kept making progress. We started to sell. In addition to resorts and real estate communities, we started getting a little bit of equipment business and some higher end non-endemic luxury car business, et cetera. And in 91, we started Western Links. And we wanted to write about Arizona and California and Hawaii. And we wanted to circulate the Western Links copies in the western portion of the United States, where those people were traveling from to these great golf resorts. So that was 91, and that gave us 2 regionals. So that really gave us a national scope. if you put the two regionals together, we were in all 50 states circulation-wise. And then in '93, we decided to move to Hilton Head, and we wanted to nationalize the magazine and write about whatever we wanted to write about. You know, Scotland, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and so that came about. Links. We decided to stop publishing the two regionals and go with Links, the best of golf. And so the first issue that was the summer of 1993, September 1993, and we had Wingfoot on the cover. And that we moved to Hilton Head in July of '93, and so that kind of got us down to Hilton Head and the lifestyle of the great lifestyle of Hilton Head, and we've been here for almost 27 years.
Unbelievable.
So time flies. Now, Nancy, did you have to be convinced to move from the Northeast down to Hilton Head back in the early 90s?
To put it mildly, Gordon, yes. I came kicking and screaming. Also made Jack promise that within 2 years we would move back to the New York, Connecticut area. So 2 years came and went, and we ended up really enjoying the lifestyle here. And then another couple years, and before you knew it, it was 27 years later. But yeah, I really did not want to move here because at the time we had been coming back and forth for 4 years, and it was, I just didn't want to live in a resort. But then once we moved here, you really got to see that there's a real community here. It was different coming back and forth a couple times a year and actually living here full time. So the longer we were here, the more I really got to love it. It's a beautiful place to live, and now I don't think I could move back north.
Well, that's kind of the same that we feel about Wilmington, North Carolina. It's great places to live, and there's more than a small sense of community. It's just wonderful. So I'm glad that you made that move, and you basically created in the media business kind of the remote lifestyle 25 plus years ago, which is terrific. So I know that you both know that I lovingly refer to my wife as management. So on that basis, can you just share with us what your respective roles are in the magazine, Nancy?
Well, I have the fun job. I'm the editorial director, and so I oversee all of the editorial operations at Links. I have no business sense at all, so really have gladly let that part be Jack's responsibility. So for me, I get to work with our great staff and our team of editors and our art director and put together the print issues, as well as all of our digital components, which mostly consist of 3 Links Insider newsletters that we do every week. So I think I have the best job of the two of us because I really get to work with some very, very talented people.
That's terrific. And Jack, you're on the business side?
Yeah, Gordon, unfortunately, I'm on the business side. No, I'm just kidding there. So, again, my background in New York was always on the business side, selling advertising for Sports Illustrated and getting involved with circulation and P&L. And I did that for 8 years in the M&A business.
So, Nancy, how do you manage to stay on top of all the changes in the golf world, the new developments that are coming up, the new real estate developments or golf courses that are coming along, and kind of keep that in the cycle of Links magazine, because you do such a terrific job at kind of attractive editorial for the affluent premium golfer. So how do you kind of keep up with all that?
Well, thanks, Gordon. We really do try to do our best. And, it is constantly researching. We also get a lot of materials from all the various companies and PR agencies. And then, like I said, with this stable of editors that we have and freelancers that we use on a regular basis, they're out there traveling, they're exposed to things. And so we have editorial pitch meetings a couple times a year for print, and for digital, it's just ongoing. I work with our digital editor, Al Lunsford. We probably 2 or 3 times a week sit down and try to figure out where we're going with our digital products and what we'd like to cover and what may work down the road. And for instance, right now with all the coronavirus, we've been focusing on, what clubs are doing to help out in their particular areas. So it's ever changing, and you're always on that quest for more information, and also to try to do something, we call it the Links way, because the bigger titles like Golf Digest and Golf Magazine, they're always going to be out there and covering something a certain way. So we don't do the tour, and so we're out there covering the lifestyle of golf. So we try to come up with something, a different perspective, just a way to bring a topic to our readers that is informative and something that we think they'd be interested in.
And so Jack, on the business side of things, I mean, the internet has flattened the world in so many different ways. Obviously, advertising channels, there's so many different ways now that companies can get their message out. I mean, you've clearly been impacted, along with all the print magazines over the years. It's created some challenges and some opportunities. Do you want to just kind of chat about some of the challenges and the opportunities as alternative advertising channels have popped up?
Well, yeah, we all know that the digital revolution started and really changed the landscape of publishing. We've all seen what's happened to newspapers, and magazines certainly have felt the pinch as well. I do believe there is a future for high-end, high-quality niche magazines, as long as they have a strong digital component to go along with them. I mean, magazines such as Links and Garden and Gun, Rob Report, Departures. I think products that are done very, very well appeal more to the higher end demographic, and are quality, especially pictorial. I do think that the baby boomers still like to have a little product they can hold and put on a coffee table, carry around in a briefcase. With that said, the digital transformation certainly has been, swift, and we've had to adapt, and anything we do in print with a magazine is available digitally. So if somebody wants to consume it on their iPad or computer or iPhone, certainly all that content can be consumed that way as well. And then, as Nancy said earlier, we really have ramped up, especially over the last couple of years, our Links Insider, which is our e-newsletter, which goes out now on Friday morning, Sunday morning, and Monday morning, with a lot of the same type of quality content you read in print. Again, pictorial, travel, real estate, architecture, and that allows us, to really be communicating with our audiences, again, much more frequently. And that product has grown very nicely, and the ad placements on those properties do very, very well, as far as open rates and clicks, which is very, very important to our endemic accounts, because obviously companies like you, resorts, communities, they're interested in capturing the best possible prospect and then turning that into into some business down the road. So, but certainly it has been eye-opening, and it's ever changing, and we're all competing against the big ad giants, Google and YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, which can target and slice and dice better than anyone. So, and obviously, their advertising can be a lot cheaper on a cost per thousand basis than other media properties. So we've all had to adjust and do the best we can. And fortunately, we still deliver 9 times out of 10 some very nice ROI for our advertisers because we go to a high-end audience and because we're niche and because we're extremely targeted. So that's been very nice to continue to see that we still can deliver great results for our partners.
That's because of all the great editorial content, I think.
Exactly. Nancy, your most favorite, or a couple of your most favorite memorable covers, and any stories behind them, maybe why you selected them? Just curious.
Yeah, I do have one particular favorite. I mean, it's kind of like the cliche of picking your favorite child or your favorite pet or whatever. But I must say our cover from 2 years ago, it was the summer of 2018. And it was a photo of just a beautiful photo of the Renaissance Club in Scotland. Mm-hmm. And why it was so special to me, and I think to George Peper and the rest of our staff, was it had come off of our spring cover was a photo of Augusta National. It was a photo of the par 3, and we had all these cover lines on the cover, and it just didn't look that great. And we were sitting in a room when we had our cover meeting for the summer issue, and we said, wait, I think we've gotten away from our core, what we do, and we're not a newsstand publication, so we don't need these cover lines. And so we just started with one amazing photo, and then we just took everything off it except for the cover story. And it was just such a clean look and such a beautiful look that it was truly, it changed, I think, the perception of us in a good way, in that it was back to maybe our roots, what we did years ago, just a very clean, beautiful cover. And since then, we've taken everything off the cover. So other than what we have to have on for circulation purposes, but it's just a beautiful photo. And that probably to me was my favorite, because sometimes when you're so involved in creating the product, you can't see the forest for the trees, so to speak. Yep. So, our covers, we sweat over those covers. We in the cover lines, we would work so hard on cover lines. And all of a sudden we're like, whoa, wait a minute. We don't need that anymore. And it was just so enlightening and so refreshing. And I think every cover since summer of 2018, like the very next one, has been my favorite. So that would be my answer, just because it was an internal decision. It's really fun when we have our cover meeting when we're in production. Our art director, Tim Carr, he'll print out maybe 12 covers, and we just put them in our conference room and we take a look. And I'll tell you, usually we all agree, but if we don't, I always defer to our editor, George Peper, because even if I don't think, that wasn't my favorite, but I don't really have a favorite, George is always spot on. So that happened, it was with our Iceland cover last fall, I believe.
Beautiful cover.
I don't know. It was kind of dark. I just wasn't quite sure. Oh my gosh, when that was printed and it came out, it was stunning. So it's fun. I love the cover meetings. We all listen to each other, but if there's really no consensus, we always go with George's favorite cover.
I really like the Iceland cover we did. The aerial looking down with the light. Mm-hmm. Really thought, again, I think what Nancy said is true. When they decided, her team decided to get away from any cut lines or cover lines on the cover and just let the picture, tell the story. I think it really kind of changed the feel in my mind, and just to have, the last, maybe 8-10 covers just with a beautiful photo with not a lot of copy really changes the game.
Nancy, you used the word core, and I was also going to make comment about Jack's earlier answer. There are certain times that you just have to kind of stand back and understand and revisit your core principles, your core business, and not be distracted with all the side noise and maybe some of the digital challenges or the deliverable challenges. But you just have to understand who your customers are. And I think probably that was an aha moment for you with respect to the cover, but it just kind of resets everything. And now more than ever, as we go through these challenging times, and just understanding who you are, what your business is, and not trying to be all things to all people, because that's a recipe for disaster in the long run. So
that's 100% true, Gordon, because I think periodically we have to take a step back and say, who are we? Who is Links? What do we do? What do we do best? What do we do better than anyone else? What's our strength? And it's easy to sometimes veer away from that when you're tempted with all these other ideas and oh, we should do this, we should do that. No, that's not our strength. You'll never see instruction in any kind of print or digital version of Links, because we can't do that, and why would we? So it's really it's just taking the time, to be honest with you, to have those moments where you can kind of just think and not be rushing to meet a deadline or something like that, where you just really have a chance to get with everyone and just talk about the product and what we can do and how we can tackle a particular idea, and just make sure that we're being true to our core audience.
Absolutely. So from your pedestals overlooking the premium golf industry in these last 30 plus years, what are the biggest changes that you've seen with respect to golf course real estate? Because that's obviously a large component of your business.
Yeah, well, I think, basically, it used to be all about golf, Gordon. You know that. I mean, again, if you look at if you look 10, 20 years ago, all of these golf communities sprung up, and, it was all about golf, 36 holes and core golf, and whether it was Fazio or Dye or Nicklaus, and everything else kind of took a back seat. They had a nice clubhouse, they had a gym, a fitness center, but it was really all about golf. And then that really has changed especially over the last 5-10 years, where the prospective buyer, it's not just about the husband playing golf. They have to have amenities that appeal to the spouse, the wife, the kids, the grandkids, and that's how you've gotten into seeing money. When we do articles now, we certainly do mention the golf, because we're a golf organization, but we talk about fitness, we talk about farm to table food, we talk about wellness, exercise. And so the communities have had to adapt with some major capital expenditures over the last 5-10 years to make sure they have these amenities. As that buyer from the Northeast is looking in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Florida, especially if they're a little younger, these communities have to have these other non-golf amenities, as part of their portfolio in order to attract interest.
So, within the in the real estate world, course design, the changes that you've seen, is your sense that the golf courses that have been built in the last 25 years have gradually, on the real estate side of things, become slightly more playable, more user-friendly, or any other significant changes that you've seen in either direction?
Yes, Gordon, you're absolutely right. They certainly have. Golf courses 20, 25 years ago, especially in the communities, they were too hard, and the architects were trying to build them for if they were ever going to play a major, an event there. And then just in the last 10 years, maybe 15 years, courses got much more player friendly and not as many mounds, and the greens aren't as undulating, and more tee boxes to have different lengths. We all know that golf takes a lot of time, so a lot of courses now actually have taken 18 holes and kind of split them up if you only want to play 6 holes or 3 holes or 9 holes in an hour. Here you go. Well, a lot more minimalistic on the design, and but you're absolutely right. A lot easier, player friendly, and fun,
and family friendly too.
Yes, and this the challenges going on just now are certainly testing their creativity on the servicey side as well.
Yeah.
So Nancy, over the years, you've had some fabulous contributors to the magazine. Jack Whitaker, Ben Wright, Sir Nick Faldo, and Ernie Els come to mind. Of all the contributors that you've had, who would you think was the most engaged, thoughtful, would contribute entertaining articles? Any writers that particularly come to mind, or any particular articles that come to mind that you thought were particularly insightful?
Yeah, trying to think. I particularly enjoyed Jack Whitaker's contributions from years ago. I doubt some of the younger folks on our staff would maybe even know who he was. He was the epitome of a gentleman and a scholar, and he just was. We were so fortunate to have him write for us. He wrote a column called "State of the Game," and it was always insightful. In fact, he was just very entertaining, and a very humble man. I can tell you a quick story. We did a program with Time Magazine, wasn't it? At the very first President's Cup, 95? 95? Yeah. In, was it the?
Trent Jones in Manassas, Virginia, yep.
And our responsibility one night, there were dinners every night, and like I said, it was in conjunction with Time Magazine. And so they brought their White House correspondent to speak, Hugh Sidey, the first night. And he was amazing. It was just the most fascinating evening, and he was just great. So the next night, it was our responsibility to deliver Jack Whitaker. And he was with us at the tournament that day. And one of our editors was kind of in charge of him, making sure that they would get Mr. Whitaker back to the hotel in time and then to the dinner. And so I remember this particular editor coming up to me and saying, "I've lost Jack Whitaker." You what? I said, "I've lost Jack Whitaker." Like, how could you lose Jack Whitaker? And to make a very long story short, Mr. Whitaker had taken a cab back to the hotel. And so, this was before cell phones, I think. I don't know that we had cell phones at that time. But anyway, when we got back to the hotel, we found him. That was great. So we go to dinner. And it was time for Mr. Whitaker to get up and, give his speech. And I'm not joking. He gets up and he speaks for all of 3 minutes. He read off a script. He spoke for 3 minutes and he said, "Okay, well, that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?" And I was mortified. I was like, oh my God. We had Hugh Sidey last night. This is all Links had to do was, deliver Jack Whitaker. So silence, dead silence for what seemed like an eternity, but it was probably only 15 seconds. And someone raised their hand and asked a question. And he was amazing. I mean, I think just, giving a speech wasn't his thing, but the Q&A with the audience, he went on for 2 hours and was the whole hit of the weekend. So he truly is one of my favorites. Of course, Ben Wright is one of my favorites as well, because Ben always had great stories to tell, and I think it was such a good writer as well that came across in all of his columns that he did for us. And Dick Taylor, remember Dick Taylor? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Golf World, years ago.
And I'll just say one more because I think maybe he's my all-time favorite, and we're very lucky to still have him on staff, is George Peper. I love everything George writes. He makes me laugh. I think he takes you there wherever he is. So I love George's pieces. And to answer your other question, I would say some of my favorite pieces have been our travel stories. One a couple years ago that Tom Coyne wrote on Ireland, and then our most recent one in our spring issue that David DeSmith wrote on traveling to Northwest Ireland. I love it when we have a piece where the writer, you actually feel like you've been transported there. Yep. And that you get some very good information from the piece, as well as feeling like, you could go there, or this is what you'll do on your next trip, or you want to go there, that's on your bucket list.
Well, you've been very fortunate over the years to work with any number of golf luminaries, and had a lovely conversation with George Peper last week, and he was just terrific. He's got some great stories.
Yes.
And hard to believe, Jack, I think it was about 20 years ago that we played golf at Secession with Ben Wright, and had a wonderful day. But anyway, Jack and Nancy, you have been most gracious with your time today. And final question before you go. Curious about what other non-golf publications that target similar readers to Links that you admire.
Well, I think I mentioned a few of them earlier, but again, for the higher end demographic, again, I believe that 5, 10, 15 years from now, you're still going to see some, high-end quality niche magazines such as Departures does a great job. The magazine Garden Gun does a great job on the print side. Rob Report still, I think, does a great job for the high-end, coastal living. Again, I think they have to be pictorial. They have to be quality. They have to appeal to a higher demographic, more affluent, and obviously a little older. The 50 to 60-year-old high-quality magazines, I think, will be around. Anything that's timely, they have to be pictorial in my mind. You've got to engage something in print right away. Like what Nancy says she's been trying to do, what she's done with the covers the last couple of years. Get somebody to say, wow, that is cool. Let me look into that a little further. And so I think those were the ones that are similar to Link's audience, and I think that do a great job.
I'll tell you another one, Gordon. I like to cook, and I love Bon Appetit, because I think they have done an amazing job with the print, with their videos, in their YouTube channel. I mean, they haven't alienated print subscribers. It's more just adding to the whole experience.
Well, that's terrific. Well, I know that speaking for PerryGolf, we have thoroughly enjoyed and appreciated our relationship with you over these 30-some years, and I know that you do just such a terrific job of describing travel and describing real estate and showing it off to the very best that it can be shown off. So, Nancy and Jack, thanks so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you in person in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon.
All the best, Jack. Cheers.